Hi, I'm Dave Wurzel, and you're watching PHTV4 Spotlight. Today's Spotlight is on fraud or scams that target senior citizens. And this is actually the second part in a three-part series. We talked about in-person fraud scam, and today we're going to take a look at frauds or scams that target seniors, that could target anybody, but we're going to specifically talk about how they target seniors that come through the internet. And I think we do need to distinguish that fraud and scams, while maybe just over the internet, a lot of times there's a phone element to the thing as well, right?
That's correct.
With us to take a look at this topic today is Brad Deline, who is the owner of Home Instead Senior Care on Harlem Avenue in Palos Heights. And he's going to help us talk about what are some of the things that seniors have experienced, unfortunately, and maybe what to do if they find themselves in that situation. We talked about the scam numbers, the dollars that people have lost over the across the country. We're talking the hundreds of millions of dollars across the board. Unfortunately, for seniors, it goes up so that everybody can be a victim. What seniors end up losing typically is double. Correct me if I'm wrong. And goes up as they get older.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they're twice as at risk as the rest of the population, and some of it is because it's new to them, mm-hmm. and they're so sophisticated, that it's beyond what they understand, and so they're more likely to fall prey to these.
So there are huge risks here, and we talked about this a little bit earlier. We're talking about financial risk, but there still are. It's an invasion of your privacy. Mm-hmm. You're going to take an emotional beating on this. You made a mistake, or you got drawn into a bad situation. Your self-confidence, the independence that you want to have, that you can manage your life. So this can be devastating in so many ways. We'll talk about some of the types of fraud or scams that can take place over the internet, and hopefully what people can do to avoid going down that bad rabbit hole. But how about give some examples first of the types of things that might happen over the internet?
Well, yeah, basically, seniors surf in the net and just starts clicking on things, and then something shows up that you have a computer problem, and it locks up your computer with malware or whatever. And it says, it might say in there, call this number to resolve. Mm-hmm. And so then they're doing that. But there's other things too. We giving information through emails and other web services that you should never give. Mm-hmm. Things like your Social Security number and your birth date and bank account numbers, credit card numbers.
Right.
There's very sophisticated web pages that look real, mm-hmm. That might mimic, you name the company that mm-hmm. we're talking about. It could be Google, it could be something along that. Microsoft is a big one. Yeah,
big name companies.
Absolutely.
So it looks like it should be legitimate.
Yeah, and then they'll say, they might say in there that this is the tech department. Or that you have a rebate due you, call this number. There's a reason that you should call them. Usually mm-hmm. it's for financial gain.
Right.
And that starts it. But it's avoidable if you really are skeptical about what you're clicking on. Mm-hmm. Only click on what you know. And even then, be really wary. It can get all of us, you and I, and seniors as well.
Oh, for sure. I mean, these, like you said earlier, we're talking about some very sophisticated, scamming or fraud attempts taking place. Let's use like phishing as an example, yeah. Right? You get an email and it says maybe you won something, right, to collect your prize. Right. And so it seems like, well, this is kind of a cool thing, right? But the problem usually in that situation, what's the follow-up on that? They've won a prize, but then what? And then you realize, well, wait a minute, maybe I'm not winning here.
Yeah. And, phishing is, it's that word that really they're fishing for your information. Mm-hmm. They're fishing for the next mark and the next dollar. And so they're out there, they're doing this, and they're trying to get what they can on you. So you really have to have your vigilance up and be very guarded, more so than any other time in your life. Speaking specifically as a senior, that you need to be hyper aware of these things and always suspect a fraud. And if it turns out that it's not a fraud, well, no harm, no foul. But if you go into it as if it's a fraud, as if it's fraudulent, then you might be better able to stop it.
I would say it kind of runs against human nature. You want to trust your fellow man, right?
Yeah.
And especially if something, a service is being offered, or you've won something.
Yes.
You're like, this is something to be happy about.
Yeah,
and so you want to.
If it's too good to be true, Dave, it probably isn't.
Yeah, and that's good advice to live by, especially in this situation.
Yeah.
You're on the computer, you get an email that says, you won this. To claim this prize, we need, a credit card number maybe?
Yes, that's exactly right. We need a routing number for your bank.
Yeah, a routing number for your bank so you make the deposit.
Right.
That's got to raise all kinds of red flags.
It better.
We're not giving out a credit card number. We're not giving a bank routing number. We're not,
Right, and so those things are what we need to protect, and it's so different than when we were younger, because we're so digital today. Every part of who we are is digital, and it's alive on the internet. So you need to guard your name, you need to guard your birth date and your social security number and bank account numbers and credit card numbers. You need to guard all of that. And if you just take it from that beginning, you're in a better spot than most.
Yeah, protect that stuff. Even though, now one that I'm going to, and maybe I hope you haven't seen anybody you're familiar go through this, is like I'm reading here called the online romance scam, where a person develops a relationship with somebody over the internet.
Yeah, I haven't seen that, but I have heard of it.
You've heard of it, and eventually that leads to, well, now you feel like you have a relationship with this person, you should trust them, but eventually it leads to...
Yeah, it's a scam.
It's a scam. They need money, or,
the person doesn't exist.
Yeah. So anytime anybody's asking for money in that area, even if it's somebody you think you have a relationship, but you've never met the person, and it's only over the internet, that especially should raise some red flags for you.
It absolutely should.
Yeah. Another one I want to ask you about is like online shopping, where something's for sale, but maybe not really for sale.
Yeah. Yeah, you do see some of those, and we're so tied into the internet for purchasing anymore. It's just it's amazing. But the question that you should ask yourself is, do I know this company? The
deal's too good to be true.
Yeah, how do I get my money back when it doesn't show up at my door? There's things you can do, use a PayPal account or something like that, but and then you can, refute it with their credit card company or with PayPal. But the best thing to do is stay with ones you know. Amazon and Walmart and Target and
names of businesses that exist.
Right, that's exactly right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and then they're known and trusted.
Yeah.
And they do it every day.
Okay. Thank you. I mean, Brad, that's a lot of really good advice, really important information. Be careful in so many ways when you're on the internet. Who are you communicating? And it may look real, and that's especially concerning, right? It looks like when you get that email or you're on that website, but there's something not right there.
Yeah, guard your information. As I said earlier, when I was younger and in the Army, my duffel bag had its social security number, and it wasn't a thing back in 1981, but today we guard that number, and you better guard it because that's your identity. And people steal identities every day, and in order to steal your identity, they only need a few things. They need your birth date, they need your name, they need your social security number. And that's really, you're in big trouble if a scammer gets a hold of those. So you need to really protect them.
All right, and it's simple to remember. Guard your numbers.
Right.
And especially, your name with those numbers, your name, and then, birth date, social security. We're not giving out the bank routing number. We're not giving out a credit card number.
That's right.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
All right, Brad, thank you very much, because I know there are so many scams out there, and unfortunately people have suffered for it.
Yeah, there's and for a senior, a lot of times it's worse than most because it affects their independence and their confidence. A lot of times they don't tell their family, so it's a crime that just no one knows about, and that's pretty horrible. So if you're seeing your mom or dad having some issues with money missing. Maybe start looking a little deeper into where that might have gone, because scams happen every day.
Right, and such an important piece to hopefully have a family member or friend around that can kind of help monitor or navigate
That's
that
right.
with you a little
That's
bit.
exactly right.
Okay. Brad, thank you very much for coming in.
You're welcome,
A
Dave.
really important topic, and I hope this helps somebody out there.
I hope so too.
Okay. I'm Dave Wurzel, and you've been watching Spotlight. Spotlight has been on fraud and scam that targets senior citizens, and we've been taking a look at part 2, online scamming. Thank you for watching.